Hello, everybody. Welcome. In this presentation, we're going to talk about utilizing Unity Asset Store assets in existing projects. Now, I'm going to walk through utilizing the standard assets, which for a while was not available because there were some glitches in the assets. Unity has fixed most of those, and so we're going to take advantage of utilizing the standard assets. It's going to give us access to things like water, some materials and textures, and probably most importantly, the first-person controller to kind of get this next project up and running. So this will just be a really quick overview about integrating asset store assets, a little bit of a workflow to, whether you've been using Unity for a while and you're used to managing your assets through the Unity Asset Store, or whether you're new to Unity and you're utilizing the package manager. We'll talk about the workflow that you want to utilize here. So I'm inside Unity. I have my project, my destination project open. And the first thing I want to do is make sure that my package manager window is active and available. So I'm going to go to the window drop-down menu and I'm going to choose my package manager. And because Unity has this interface that we can manage, I'm just going to grab the package manager tab and I'm going to drag it up to nest it with my game, scene, asset store, lighting, and a package manager here. In fact, I'm leaving my asset store window open, but it just kind of gives us some basic instructions about Unity moving away from the asset store in favor of the package manager. So if you have your asset store window open, you can kind of ignore that. And you can find it under window, asset management, asset store. There we go. But again, it's not really necessary. The important thing is that we have the package manager open. You should see a list of all of the assets that you have available, which might not be many at all. And in fact, you might be missing some assets that you should have access to. And I'm going to walk you through working that out. So the first step is to make sure that the package manager has focus and is open. That'll allow us to use a little bit more user-friendly version of the Unity Asset Store from the web browser. So I've gone to the Unity Asset Store. I'm going to do a quick search for standard assets. And I'm looking for the Unity standard assets, which looks like this icon here. So you can see that these assets are free. They're for Unity 2018 and newer versions. So this recently got updated to account for some bugs and glitches in the newer versions of Unity. And we might still get a couple of glitches, but I'll show you how to kind of work around that. So because I'm logged in to the Unity Asset Store, I have the option to open in Unity. I'm going to click the Open in Unity button, and you'll notice that it takes me back to Unity, and through the Package Manager, we have access now to the standard assets. If my Package Manager window is closed, so if I go to just close this Package Manager tab, and I'm inside my scene kind of doing some work, and I want to pick up an asset, sometimes if I go to the Asset Store and hit Open in Unity, sometimes it won't open the package manager, or if it does open the package manager, it won't activate and give you access to the package that you just selected sometimes. If that's the case, all you have to do is go to the web browser, hit Open in Unity for the asset you want to use. It should kick you over to Unity, and from the package manager, it should highlight the asset that you're trying to download. Now, if that doesn't pop up, but it does send focus to the package manager, all you have to do is go back and click one more time on Open in Unity, and it should refresh and show you the standard assets that are available. So you may have to download. I've already downloaded mine to save us a little bit of time. But you might have to download and update. And at this point, I'm going to hit import. Now, usually when we import assets, we'll familiarize ourselves with some of the hierarchy of the assets. It provides us this little window here, this little helper that's going to tell us all of the things that are going to be imported into this package. And there's a lot more stuff than we're actually going to need or utilize. But just to keep things simple and straightforward, I'm just going to let everything default, and I'm going to hit the import button. Now, it's going to write packages. It's going to take a little while for all these packages to import, or this package to import with all the assets. But if we look in the assets folder, when this is complete, we should have access to standard assets. Now, I'm going to give this a pause so we're not watching the grass grow here or watching the assets load. And once these are loaded, I'll come back and we'll talk about integrating some additional assets. Whoa, and it's complete. So I don't have to pause the video. Now, I want to point out a couple of different things. The first thing is that we do now have access to standard assets, but we are getting a red error down here. Now, these are coming from the console. You should have a console tab at the bottom left hand, hiding right behind packages in Unity. And if we go to our console, it's sharing with us the kinds of errors that are getting thrown. Now, it's one thing, it's important to note that there's a couple of different kinds of errors. There's critical errors, which are going to show up with a red exclamation point. And there are yellow errors, which are kind of cautionary, and it'll kind of let you know how many errors you've accumulated here. Now, it's important to start accessing this console tab, particularly if you're trying to run a project where you're getting compiler errors. So I'm going to go back to my scene. I'm going to hit play, and you can see that I get this warning about all compiler errors need to be fixed in order for this to run. So if I look in my console, I have an error here, and sometimes I can just hit clear and errors will go away. But in this case, I hit clear and this error is not going away. So I'm going to take a closer look at it and see what it says. It says that standard assets, it says that assets/standard assets/utilities. So it's talking about the project folder here. In fact, let me just move my console over so we can see both of these. It's telling me that we're getting a conflict with a script that says simple activator menu.cs. And it's giving us the lines that the error is occurring. And if I click on this error, you can see that it highlights the script in question. Now, this simple activation menu, if I select on it, we can see the C# script over here. And I'm not so concerned about what's happening in the script because I'm not going to try to fix it. I don't think I'm going to use this simple activation menu. So all I'm going to do is select it and either right click on it and choose to delete, or on the Mac I'm going to command click, or on the PC I'm going to hit the delete key, and I'll just eliminate that script. Now you can see that the error goes away. It may generate additional errors. In this case, it's just giving me some warnings, and we can always ignore these yellow warnings, or unless we're looking for something specific. These yellow caution errors are not going to keep us from running our project. We're not going to get the compiler errors. These are just things to keep in mind, and this all looks pretty good. Just train yourself to ignore the yellow ones unless you really need to get to the bottom of something else. But I should be able to hit the play button now and see my game run. Okay, so I have a simple first-person controller set up here. I'll walk you through that process of setting up the first-person controller and integrating some of these assets in the next presentation. But I just want to get you kind of acclimated to the asset store and eliminating some of these errors that show up. Now, one final note about these errors is I'm going to intentionally break this, and it should only take duplicating a script. If you have two scripts that are referencing the same assets or the same namespace inside your script, you can see that I immediately got some errors. I just selected the script, hit Command D or Control D on a PC to duplicate that script, and you can see that I get a little duplicate here, and now I'm getting these new errors. Now if I hit the clear button, they didn't go away, and if I hit the play button to test my project, you can see that I'm getting compiler errors. So in this case, we could look through this, but in the script, it's referring to a common namespace for something in here, and those need to be unique. And because this script is just duplicated, it only takes one simple typo or a rogue script in order to kind of temporarily break your project. Now this is an easy fix. All I'm going to do is select this this curve control bob1, hit the delete key, say OK. Sometimes it'll refresh for you and tell you if you have any errors. Sometimes it'll introduce some additional errors, and in this case, we're pretty good. I just got rid of that script. So when we're dealing with assets from the asset store, just be mindful that sometimes you can introduce some components that will conflict with others. And it's important just for us to be able to get to the bottom of it. As long as we know what the directory or what the script or what the asset is that's conflicting, a lot of times we can just go in and remove the stuff that we don't need. But sometimes it's necessary stuff to make that asset work. So if you get errors, we will troubleshoot those individually if you get stuck on something. So be mindful of that. If you do need to correct an error, the best thing to do in this situation is make sure that your console has focus. Make sure that the errors are showing, not the cautions, but the actual errors. Take a screenshot of it and send it to me with any questions. Now you can post in the discussion board. You can email me. I'm going to be a little bit more responsive over email. And if it's a valuable question that I think other students are going to ask, I'm going to record a quick video, maybe post some comments in the discussion board and direct you over to tips and tricks. So more about that a little bit later, but this was just intended to be a really quick tips and tricks video about getting assets up and running in a project in Unity. We'll catch up in another presentation and we'll talk about utilizing some of these standard assets.